From the studios of Barcelona, Spain, it's Slade Suter, live on Authenticity Radio.
Slade Suter, live on Authenticity Radio.
It's a radio show about real people and real authentic talk. And now your host, who has the hospitality of a fat and jolly innkeeper, Slade Suter.
Hello and welcome to program number 4, Working Your Own Conflict. It's time to process. This is Slade Suter, and I'm very excited that you have returned to continue working your own conflict. And processing is difficult. I could lie to you and tell you that processing is a piece of cake, that there's nothing to it. However, in my opinion, processing happens to be one of the most difficult pieces in working toward real resolution. So I ask you during processing for you to be steadfast and stick with it. It'll take some dedication to get through all of the years of crap in order to access the essential components of what really needs to happen in order for you to resolve your conflict. Wow, what did that mean? Well, we'll get there. But first, I'm going to ask any listeners who happen to be tuning into this program and have not listened to the previous broadcasts of Working Your Own Conflict to consider starting with program number 1 and working your way up here. I've given several homework assignments that'll help you to be prepared for what we're about to do today. Now, I ask you to please get a piece of paper and a pen. I'm about to give you a little guide that has helped me and helping me resolve my conflicts. And my hope is that it also helps you. As you look for this pen and paper, I just want you to recall the conflicts that have been playing out in your life thus far. Have you noticed a repeating pattern in all of your conflicts? Has there been something that has been constant in all of your conflicts? Is kind of important because choosing to honestly process your story in this conflict will directly impact the rest of the conflicts in your life for the good, depending how honest and steadfast you are. Now back to the paper. I'm going to give you 7 words in all. So start at the top of the page, write the first word, leave a little bit of space, and then the second word, and just divide it into 7 parts, the page. And that way you'll be able to write your notes as we go along. Are you ready? I'll repeat these words twice. Identify. Choose. Sort. Release. Revisit. Remember. And recommit. Identify. Choose. Sort. Release, revisit, remember, and recommit. Now, before we begin the processing, I want you to recall in last program we had your story up on an examination table, and you, my dear friend, had turned into an interested scientist with a scalpel in hand. You cut the story wide open, and you discovered that there are many values that you are holding inside the story in relation to this conflict. These values were divided into 2 parts, and you wrote this down on a piece of paper. 1, your internal core values are values that are part of you, and the other set of values are external values. Your external values are attached to external events or other people's stories. The point is that they're not yours. Let's pick up that magnifying glass again, and let's go ahead and take a look at the values. The left-hand column, or the internal core values, these internal core values are neglected, violated. They need attention. They need to be seen to. However, the external values have been pulling all of the energy and creating drama up till now. So we need to first start with your external values before we address your internal core values. So go ahead and get your paper and write under the word identify, I identify what belongs to me versus what does not belong to me. And under the word choose, I choose to own and honor what truly belongs to me. And I choose to clean house. Also, write this under choice. When I regain choice, I regain my power, which means that I am no longer a victim, held bound, or hostage of anything from the outside of myself. When I regain choice, I regain my power. I am no longer a victim, held hostage, or held bound from anything from the outside of myself. So for the first part of this exercise, I want you to imagine that you have a small bucket hanging from your neck. And we will write on this bucket, I don't know. Or we just could put a question mark on the bucket and we can let it stand for itself. There, now you have a bucket hanging around your neck with a question mark. So just keep it there for a moment and let's return to the paper again. And under the word sort, I would like you to write this. I choose to sort through all of the external values, beliefs, and stories that have been given to me since I was a child. You are making an active decision to sort through everything and clean house. Okay, let us leave the paper for a moment and return to the process. I would like you to imagine now that there is a light in front of you, and it is approximately a few feet or just about a meter away from your face. You can reach out, but you just can't quite touch it. It's about the size of a grapefruit or a big orange, and it's brilliant. It is so bright. However, you are able to look at it. This light is you. This light is you in your essential self. This light is you in your full authenticity. Oh, I just love the sound of that. You get the point. It's your essence that we're talking about, right here in front of you. Now, personally, it's a powerful experience for me to imagine that in this light is also my God, who is very loving and compassionate and understanding. All life, all love is part of this light with me. And I invite you to adjust accordingly to your belief system. This light has the intuition and the understanding and the experience to answer this question. Do I believe this? Do I believe this? This is the question that you are going to ask every single item on the external value sheet. Do I really believe this? And I'm going to ask you, before you start doing this, to turn yourself back into an interested scientist, where you are just curious and you don't have the fear in discovering the answer. I want to stress that it is very important for you to be brutally honest. This is the point where you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by being honest. And the answer is going to be one of three. True, false, or I don't know. Now you now you remember the bucket around your neck, and there's a purpose for that. So, you go through each one of these questions and you hold it up to the light. As a matter of fact, I encourage you to actually do it. You go through the list, you pick up one of your values, you hold it up to the light right in front of you, and ask yourself, do I believe this? It could be something that you were told as a child, and you just kind of accepted. However, you have never consciously made the agreement that you believe it. So you hold that up to the light and you ask the question, do I believe this? Depending on that answer, it's going to go one of three places. If the answer is true or yes, then it will leave the exterior value list and it will join me in my interior core value. It actually becomes part of me. Now, when I consciously accept something as one of my core values, I grow in character. Okay, so there's that. That's kind of a building block, in other words. So let me give you an example of what a yes would look like and sound like. When I was going through adolescence, 13, 14 years old, I was hanging out with my Aunt Christy. She recognized that I was going through a difficult time. And she kept telling me over and over again, when I'm experiencing big difficulties, is to follow my intuition and to trust that my intuition will never fail me. And so I've been carrying these words from my great Aunt Christy, and it is on my external list. And I see it on my list, and I pick it up, I hold it to the light, and I hold it against my intuition, my experience, and I feel a yes. Matter of fact, that's a good way to say, when you're going through this list, and it's a yes, it feels right. If you feel internal resistance inside your own body, then it's probably not a yes, and we'll get there. So a yes feels right. I know it sounds a little cliche, but it's true. Try it, and I think you know what I'm talking about. So let's go back to your list, and let's pick out the next item. You pick it up, and you hold it to the light, and you ask yourself, do I believe this? And the answer comes back as neither a yes or a no, true or a false. It comes back as a maybe, or I don't know. Where do we put it? That's right. You have a bucket hanging around your neck, and we need to put it to use. So let's go ahead, take it, and stick it into this I don't know bucket. Now, by doing this, you're taking external value that has belonged to an external source or another person, a story, and has been influencing you all of these years, and possibly in this conflict. And by taking something and admitting that you really don't know if you believe it or not, and you stick it into the I don't know bucket, doesn't mean that you agree with it or you don't. And that's very important. And by putting it inside this bucket, you start movement. You start searching for the answer. You start listening to other people. You start watching with your eyes. You open your senses. And in a sense, you're looking for an answer. Whereas before, you just had it as you were just carrying it around as dead weight. However, at the same time, it was influencing you. So let me give you an example of how helpful this bucket can be in taking something very influential and heavy in your life and freeing it up for investigation. For example, I grew up as a Catholic, and for those who are not familiar with the Christian tradition or Catholicism, I grew up in the 1960s through the 1970s into the 80s, as educated in that time frame, and I was given two very distinct images of God to work with. One was a very stern God who was very willing to punish and had very strict laws to abide with, and was very willing to send you to hell in a handbasket if you stepped outside these lines. And then on the other hand, I had a very open, loving, compassionate God who was very willing to forgive and just wanted you to learn and to grow and to love. So, now listen to me closely. By taking anything from this list and placing it into the I don't know bucket does not mean, I'll repeat this, does not mean that you agree or disagree with it. It just means that you are placing it in a place where you're going to open your eyes, open your ears, you're going to talk to people, you're going to inquire about whatever is in the bucket.